Are negative Google reviews hurting your business? Don't let unfair feedback cost you customers. At Webamax, we specialize in removing false, misleading, and damaging reviews so your online reputation stays strong. Our expert team works quickly and legally to clean up your digital presence, helping you rebuild trust. Visit us on the web at www.gowebamax.com. That's GOWEBIMAX.com, or text us for a free quote at 856-840-8343. Don't let bad reviews define you. Get immediate help from Webamax.
My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking. Give me beer or whiskey, wine or gin. Anything to shake this mood I'm in. My football team's got me drinking.
Back at it again with another shade of blue. We are the KC Soccer Journal. My name is Cody Bradley, Thad Bell, Robert Russer, David Greenwalder here. Carrie was so excited to talk about the new edition that her car blew up on the way, so she didn't quite make it. Carrie, I hope you're listening, and I hope you're okay after that. I feel bad. We're kind of just abandoning her. Is Carrie on the side of the road somewhere with a smoking vehicle, and we're just standing in here in this comfy studio doing a podcast?
That's kind of what's happening. Yes.
I don't feel right about this.
I think she did say her dad was on the way, but she didn't know when he would arrive. So I was trying to volunteer David.
Okay, well, it's dedication to the craft. Carrie would want us to be here.
You know what? That's true. That's true. Carrie would want us to push forward. And there is so much to talk about. Dejan Joveljic is official. It all happened so fast from the first we heard about it from Tom Bogert to the official signing. And the best part of all of it, before we even get into it, Thad, they announced this on a Saturday night, right before we record. Absolutely unheard of. They did this just so we could talk about it today, right?
They're taking a lot of cues from us lately.
I think they are.
I'm pretty proud of this. I mean, my nickname is getting out there for somebody. They're doing our
Shoppy the Choppies catching on.
Our meme is going on with Mr. Burns.
The excellent meme. Yes,
they're setting this up. They're setting us up for when we record. I mean,
yeah, this is all very good.
This doesn't help with the idea
announced.
that we're all just shills for the team.
Well, we don't
Thad,
really
when's
combat
your,
that.
When's your meeting with the organization this year?
When do we get our directives from Mr. Burns on what to say this year on the podcast?
yeah. Sadly, the only meetings I get is usually getting chewed out for people being too negative. Which way should I go, negative or positive today?
Did you have one of those meetings about me? Because I've apparently been taken off the emailing list. I didn't get an invite for media day. I didn't get an invite for the season-long
I
credential.
told you not to tell him, David.
David did somehow. I don't know how he got the invites.
Because when I'm in the press box, I write good articles, and I don't just sit there and troll on Twitter.
When he writes articles, he's in the press box.
Are you saying I troll on Twitter?
I don't know. I don't have Twitter. I'm just assuming.
I haven't posted on Twitter. Even when I was looking at Twitter, I wasn't posting on it.
Should we get back to this literally smoking deal Kansas City made?
Yes. Dejan Joveljic. It's not a hard J, David.
I've heard it both ways. I don't know.
Okay, well, the website tells us Joveljic, and that's what we're going with. Dejan Joveljic, 25-year-old Serbian, signed for 3 years, and the club has an option for 28. This looks like he was going to be aging out of the U22 initiative. He's 25. In MLS, you can still be classified under that if you stay with the team and are under 25, but he's turning 26 this year. So he's going to be aged out of that.
Yeah, that was just when you said the 26 part. Because when you turn 26, you got to get kicked out of it. So
correct, and that would add $200K to his cap hit, and so it looks like they were trying to move him on.
And Tigres was very interested in him.
Tigres wanted him.
So reportedly offered more money.
Really?
I think they were offering over 5.
But it wasn't GAM. Maybe that made the difference.
This isn't GAM.
Okay. It's
Right.
cash. It's cash, yeah.
Yes,
Right.
the first ever.
Yes.
Maybe that's why they announced so quickly on Saturday. Tom Bogert reported somebody else is maybe sniffing around a cash only trade.
All right. So I did not put this on the rundown, and I know you love when I don't do those type of things.
That's my favorite.
I know. So what else have they done in the past that was the first?
Ooh, I know.
His name just fell out of my head. Justin Mapp was
Yes.
the first free agent.
Why?
Yes.
Why do we have to bring in this negativity right here, right now?
That was a fun transfer window. We also got Brad Davis.
Yep.
And neither of them did anything meaningful.
Exactly.
That was a terrible year.
Brad Davis played.
Yeah, he was on the field.
He played, but he was bad.
He was mediocre. He,
So-
he wasn't supposed to play a lot. In fairness, Justin Mapp was supposed to play a lot.
Yeah.
Brad Davis was supposed to whip in free kicks, and he sucked. But here's why the cash trade is relevant. Because historically in MLS, when you trade for a player with cash, like when Orlando gave us all that money for Dom to go to his spiritual homeland, that's allocation money. You could trade general allocation money. You can trade target allocation money. And teams have a finite pool of that. So you can really screw up your roster construction, buying and selling and trading game. This is straight up cash. So this year, MLS allowed teams to just use out-of-pocket cash funds to trade for players that doesn't require allocation money. And so we are the first team who did that.
Correct. So this is the second major roster thing that they did that they were the first at. And I will also throw in another one, as they were the first one to have an international homegrown.
I think they're still the only one to have an international.
Because
home
that's right, not really a thing. But okay, guys, I assume at some point we're going to hear the details of what went down here.
Yeah,
I
Do
that's-
you think?
I
that-
don't. I feel like we never do.
No?
I
Well,
don't think we'll get details.
we did with the Polito thing.
Maybe Sam will get the inside information. And anyway,
No, I will ask. I think they'll be fairly.
okay.
Well,
okay.
I
Do you think Joveljic chose Sporting Kansas City over Tigres?
Yeah, I think he's a big barbecue guy. I think he likes
Okay, all right.
Oklahoma Yo's. And
All right, that was pretty good.
he's here for the meat.
I love dad jokes.
Fair
Thank you.
enough.
Yeah, I don't know if I think he might have had input to that, but I also think that LA may have had more insight. It may have been better for them to trade to Sporting under this new mechanism because of the way the money is, versus outside where there's percentages of that can then convert to GAM and things like that. So I think there may have been a better use for LA to do that.
Even though they're trading within their own conference. Okay.
And the league literally taking a cut, right? If an MLS team sells to another
there's-
league, the league literally takes a cut.
Yeah,
right?
everybody takes cuts, of course. I mean, it's part of the pyramid.
I think the other part of it, and I won't profess to be like a Tigres fan or like follow them all that carefully, although I know they have Gignac, who is old but like a legend, is the path to playtime, right? Joveljic has to beat out William upon first reference, Agata.
Thank you.
But Tigres has like a nice team, and you know the competition for playtime might have been a lot more difficult, and maybe he chose to go to a situation where it's easier to get on the field.
He's the man.
Yeah.
Well, the other part of it is LA was pretty strapped in their salary cap and their salary situation, so they had to get rid of some players. Do you think this was a thing before the Joveljic Tigres came out, or did it become a thing after that? And we're like, oh, hey, let's see if we can get in on that.
Yeah, I really don't know. I mean, I think that's a good question, though, which I do think is one that we'll try to find an answer to when we get a chance. I would hope that maybe that was, just always like, here's the players we want to look at. If they become even remotely mentioned, we start taking, more interest. I don't know. Or maybe there was other forwards out there that fell through that they were looking at.
Or Agata is maybe more hurt than we think he is,
It could be, since we have not officially seen him yet.
right?
Or they didn't think he was the guy to score our goals this
Why
year.
would Cody come up with that idea?
Did none
No
of
idea.
you really mention that? I was kind of focusing on something
We're
else.
leaving it for you, man.
Did none
come
of
on.
you mention that? You're like, oh, what? How crazy is it? They signed another striker. Was that what that conversation was? It was with Willie
No,
Agata.
it was not.
No.
It was not.
The conversation was, why did he pick us over Tigres?
Right.
Okay.
Wait, you always accuse me of not paying attention during our show. Were you not paying attention during the show?
I was working for the show. You not paying attention when you're watching KU or doing God knows what over there in that corner.
Okay. Actually, I'm going to go with Cody for a second. I think he has a fair point. We did not specifically mention that. But we
did not.
But Sporting had very definitively said they were looking for a 9. Once Polito
right.
left, they were
Yep.
looking for a 9. Yes, Mason Toy, he's there to back up, but they were still looking for a 9. So they've been looking for a 9 since Polito left. That's without a doubt. We didn't specifically mention that to help Cody's case.
Let's actually talk about Dejan. 85 goals, 26 assists over his professional career. Guy just scores goals. Coming from MLS Cup champion. What do you point?
Mr. Bell has some good stats. He compared
Ooh, okay.
Mr. Polito, Mr. Joveljic, and some other things.
Over the last 2 seasons, regular season, he scored 21 goals. Alan Polito scored 21 goals. William scored 13. These are all regular season. So he's not that far off of what Alan was doing at his best. The problem is Alan was going downhill and DJ is going uphill because he improved last year.
Are we calling him DJ?
Are we doing that? Are we
I
going with
love
DJ?
it. I like it. Are
I
we
just
calling
slid
him
it in,
DJ?
man. I was trying to find some way I can avoid saying Dejan Joveljic or Joveljic or
The dude's on fire, man.
Is he gonna be DJ9?
Did they call him
DJ
DJ
9.
in LA? I don't know.
Okay.
I
I
like
have no
this.
idea, but
That sounds very Midwestern.
You
Yes.
know, I think David and I are like working together without even realizing it because I went DJ, he went DJ9. So
Oh my god!
we have DJ9 and we'll have Choppy and I don't know,
We
Manu
are in a
Manu.
radio studio, so that helps.
I'm not sure I'm on board with Choppy.
So Thad, what you did there was you compared DJ's last season with Polito's best. Were those the numbers that you
It was
gave
just the
me there?
last 2 seasons.
But Cody, there is more. Talk about how clutch Mr. DJ is.
Oh, I got to pull this up.
You set him up and he wasn't ready.
Well, I was curious because I watched LA but didn't watch it that closely. So I just was curious where he scored at last year. Like, was it early? Was it late or whatever?
It was the friggin' playoffs.
Well, it was everywhere. So just running down when his goals were last season, the 75th minute, the 43rd minute, the 82nd minute, the 3rd minute, the 75th, the 56th, the 61st, the 4th, 40th,
What's happening here?
41st, 72nd. So he's all over the place, but he scored a lot late. So he was very clutch in how he came in.
And LA never lost when he scored.
Yeah, they did not lose a game when he
that's a good
scored.
one.
Yeah.
They lost 7 when he didn't score that he played in. So
Well, unlike a lot of people in this room, I watch Major League Soccer a lot. And Joveljic I saw quite a lot last year. And what I like about him...
Hold on. Whoa! I'm not gonna be attacked like that without saying who
Hey,
doesn't.
how
watch
many of you, when the playoffs come and Sporting's not in it, just tune out MLS? Come on, admit it.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
I watch all season long until Sporting's out.
Well,
Okay, there you go.
then you better have a very insightful thoughts on the actual play of Dejan Joveljic, but it's going to come after Robert.
Fine.
So, the man, has got a good pace. I mean, he's not lightning fast Jerso out there, but he's got good pace. Number 2, he's strong off the dribble. He can create space for himself. But what I really like about him is, and this fits with what Thad was saying, he's very determined. He's a warrior in that box. It's like he's got that ambition. He's got that intensity and tenacity to get the job done. And that's what I like the most about him.
over the last 2 seasons, who had the most goals per 90 minutes between DJ, Willie, and Allen?
Probably Willie.
DJ
Okay, good. Thank God.
with .53, William with .48, and Allen with .45.
Did you say, so you gave DJ 21 goals, 8 assists over the last 2 seasons?
Yeah.
This article from Sporting,
He scored 21 last year in
Talking
all
regular
competitions.
season only? Oh, okay.
yes, that's the stat I was trying to get to. That's great. Last season, he scored 21 goals and 8 assists across
Including-
all competitions.
Yeah, that includes playoffs and the other cups that they played in.
Yes, because he scored 6 goals in MLS Cup playoffs.
Again, clutch.
Dude is, I think he even has another gear to find. Turning 26 this year, coming to a new team, new coach, new system. Maybe this just works better for him. Oh my God. If we get that playoff version of him, oof.
All right, so in the playoffs, he did not have Ricky Puig
I was just going to say
for
that.
a game or two. I forget, like, was it 2 games or 1 game? But he still scored, even
Just
with,
the final, yeah.
and he scored 1 there. But the rest of this time, he had a lot of good players around him. So Ricky Puig and the other guy in the midfield,
Royce.
Paintsel, and all these guys. He had a lot of other good players around him. The question is, will he have that cast to help feed him? Because, I watched a lot of his goals last night, and I don't know how many of them were tap-ins because he was standing in the right spot off to the side, and he was wide open. Now, I will say that there's players on Sporting that would have still screwed that up. So credit to him for putting those in. But he was just he's very well in the right spots at the right times. And there's ones he flicked. There's ones he got the ball in the middle of the box and turned and just made his own space and shot. So he did a lot of that stuff, but a lot of it was he was in the right spot and he finished.
Yeah, he's a finisher. Yeah.
Okay, now I want to hear from David. David, who claims to watch every game in this league, takes offense to anyone suggesting that he doesn't know
That's
every
right.
player in this league.
Every minute of every game.
Let's hear.
That's all I do.
Then let's hear your insight on DJ.
What will make people happy is that in comparison to Alan Pulido, he plays in the box. So often,
Oh my God, we're gonna have a striker in the box.
So often the criticism was that Alan was dropping too deep. He was out of the box trying to combine, trying to make plays, and he wasn't in the 6-yard box trying to get on the end of headers. DJ will be in the box a lot more. And in a lot of ways, he's a lot like William upon first reference Agata, and that despite what you think, Cody, I mean, Agata's in the right spot all the time. He's just not clinical.
Yes.
So DJ's had 4 seasons in Major League Soccer, all with LA, right? And it's good year, bad year, or bad year, good year, bad year, good year. Now, his first season, he was the backup to Chicharito. That was a bad LA Galaxy team. The next year, they were pretty good. He was averaging 1 goal every 90 minutes. And he was averaging a quarter of an assist every 90 minutes, which is, I mean, elite. Like, elite. The next year, Galaxy were atrocious. But he was leading the line. 6 goals, 3 assists in MLS play. He only averaged, a third of a goal every 90 minutes. And then last year, their cup-winning team, they were really good all season long, 0.7 goals per 90. And he was averaging almost a goal or an assist per 90. But he had a lot more elite talent around him. So the question's going to be, as good as he is, a big chunk of it's going to be how good is the delivery to him? Do we have a midfielder who can provide him service in the box? Can our wingers provide him service in the box? Are we going to be able to get him cutbacks? Because he'll be in the right spots. Yep. It's a matter of whether or not we can get to the end line, cut the ball back, whether or not we're whipping in crosses that can actually find somebody. Because he's not a guy who's going to be like, it's not going to be like Christian Nemeth where he's juking people out of their shoes to get his own shots off. That's not the way he plays.
No.
So he does need
I think he can.
service. He needs service, but he's going to be the best striker we've had in a lot of ways, like pure striker, because Pulido, and I still stand by Pulido at his peak is one of the best players we've ever seen in Kansas City, but he was a 9.5, right? He's a playmaking, almost a false 9. Dejan's going to play more like a true number 9.
Yeah, I'm going to argue with that a little bit. I think he can create things on his own. I think he has that ability to find that space and to finish.
Watch the goal.
He's going to be doing, just tap-ins.
He scored the winning. I meant to mention this earlier when I said MLS Cup winning national LA Galaxy. He scored the winning goal in the 3rd minute, and it was very well taken with it through traffic, guys in front of him. So he is capable of it.
Oh, I'm not saying he's Wondolowski and is just poaching,
but it will be if Daniel Shalhoub can give him some service. Speaking of Daniel Shalhoub, the stash. Have you guys seen this?
It's great.
Daniel grew up. He doesn't want to be little brother anymore. He's got this little stash. Looks like a different person.
I think he's going by Dan now.
It looks like we should call him Dan. You're so right.
Dan Levitan.
That is amazing. It looks like we should just call him Dan now.
Dan the man.
You think that looks great, really, David? You think it looks great?
I don't think it looks great.
If it makes him happy,
I bet
I'm
women
happy
like
for
it.
him.
I bet women like it.
But
I think women are into that right now.
are they?
I think it looks like like an extra in a knockoff of a Top Gun movie.
Well, that's why that mustache is in, because that movie brought it back again. So,
Yeah, Goose's son, right? Rooster.
Right.
right. So for those who don't know, he has played many places overseas. Was with Eintracht Frankfurt, who loaned him out, but he scored with them in his debut in the Europa League. He was with Anderlecht.
To be clear, we're not talking about Dan Shalhoub. We're talking about DJ.
Sorry, I didn't
DJ9.
say that, did I? Yeah.
And yes, Cody, if he doesn't score in his first sporting game, then he's crap. Forget it.
Reddit will definitely say that. Okay. That was one thing I was going to mention. In the year with Anderlecht, first 2 games, goal and an assist. big club Anderlecht. He's got to be so pumped. Scores a goal and assist in his first 2 games, and then COVID shuts the entire world down. So he's had a pretty good trajectory in his career. I know, David, you mentioned the maybe on and off a little bit in Major League Soccer, but last year really came into his own, and it's insane that the Galaxy was just so seemingly eager to let him go.
Again, salary cap.
Yeah. Okay, but what, you're 21 goals across all competitions, and you don't want to spend $200,000 more on your salary cap? Like, what are we doing here?
Don't they already have 3 DPs? That's the problem.
Yeah.
So they would have had to move one of them.
Right.
Although they probably could have put one on season and anyway, they might have been able to do some funny money working there.
Yeah.
But this way they got $4 million for a guy. They can do their other moves that they
Who
need
are
to do.
so they have it's Paintsel, Puig,
Marco Royce.
and Royce. I forgot about
And
Royce.
they've got, who's
that
the
was
other
a
guy?
bad deal.
And what'd you say, Robert?
There's one more guy. Who's the other winger?
Peck.
That's
Yeah,
Gabriel
Peck.
Peck. He's also a DP though. I was
don't
just
know if he's
thinking
a
of the.
DP
I
or
was
not.
just thinking of the
okay.
3
He
DPs
might,
that
he
they'd
might
have
be
to.
a he might be a U22.
Yeah.
All right,
Peck.
but here's the thing. I don't know where I saw it, guys. It could have been Reddit. It could have been Facebook. It could have been Twitter, X, whatever. I don't know. But this fan says, oh, well, in so many months, Garber has dismantled the LA Galaxy. Thanks, Garber. But, what were they complaining about before, all these fans? Oh, the league loves the Galaxy, and they're going to bend the rules for the Galaxy. You can't talk out both sides of your mouth, folks.
Probably
you can't
not.
do it.
It may not have been the same person.
Right.
Well, I'm just saying in general. Come on, people.
What is the?
What was that voice?
What's the?
Were your lungs scarred from all the smoke in LA?
All the
Like, is that
No.
What's
All
the
Carrie's
accusation
car
here?
What?
Smoke. That's what I'm talking
Mo
about.
Sislak imitation.
what was that?
What
voice?
is the accusation here that Garber's
talking about-
dismantling
Yeah, the
LA?
Galaxy, yeah.
Why? How did he do any of this? What-
Exactly.
Oh,
That's my point.
okay.
Yeah.
No.
But MLS loves the Galaxy, so they bend the rules for him. But
They have in the past.
dismantle
It's not their
team.
favorite now.
So come on.
Yeah, no. Now they have
Galaxy
Miami.
were pushing the league forward for a while. Bend some rules for
true.
teams doing that. I've expressed that.
I
take.
mean, now that has moved to South Florida.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's. And again, if you watch sports in general, man, there's very rare teams just stay at the top every single year, unless there's some kind of funny things going on. You grow, you hit a cap, you have too many old guys, you have to move them out.
The
Sporting,
NFL fixes games for the Chiefs.
Jeez.
just like they did for the
Get
Patriots,
out
right?
of here. Oh, my God. I hate these people.
Refs do get it wrong. Refs do get influenced by having big names on the field, but I don't think they're all there. But anyway, that's a different story, different pod. But that's what happened. I mean, that's where Sporting got into being so bad this last couple of years. Is they're kept trying to like flex and use Moneyball and trying to like borrow from here to pay there, and it just all caught up to them with a lot of injuries and bad contracts, and they still have a couple, but. That's what happens. That's what happens to LA. I mean, you have so many great players. It's like you are overwhelming a lot of other teams, and now you can't keep them all. You just can't.
Well, the thing about a league with parity is that like every team's going to have highs and lows, right?
Yep.
Like it's very rare in any American sports league that a franchise is consistently awful. I mean, like you get the Browns, but in the NBA there's ebbs and flows. In the NFL there's ebbs and flows, unless you're Cleveland. In MLS there's ebbs and flows. The thing about soccer, what makes it in a lot of ways very different, in American sports, you always want to keep your core together for like as long as possible, right? Like the Chiefs are going to ride Travis Kelce till the wheels fall off. Whereas if you look at teams like Man City, when they were flying high, they have very few guys who have been on the team for like 4 years or more, right? Because it's constantly bringing in new guys to adapt to the system, to keep people fresh, to increase competition. And so one of the areas where Sporting fell flat was not the idea that playing Moneyball is a bad idea, because we can't compete for names like Miami does. Like no matter how much money we offered Messi, he was not going to come here over Miami, right? Like we could have offered him $30 million a year more. He probably would have said no, just because he doesn't, at a certain point, he doesn't need it, right? But it was that we rode these same guys till the wheels fell off and didn't bring in a squad refresh. And like, in part, it's because of marketing, right? The city loves Johnny, so you can't move on from Johnny. But at a certain point, you have to bring in replacements. And that's been a failure of the team, is to like not be more active in and out of the transfer market, bringing players in, moving players on.
So I will have to because I know we've made a lot of jokes about Mr. Burns and all that type of stuff. I don't know exactly what happened behind the scenes, but the fact that Mr. Burns comes in and they move 4 guys off that, were older or would have wanted too much money for their value and stuff like that to create space. And then they were able to take advantage of Polito moving. So far, yes, you can complain that all this stuff didn't happen faster, but if you end up the season with DJ9 and Choppy and Manu.
DJ9, I freaking love it. I'm obsessed with it already.
As 3 new players, and knowing that you still have a summer window when you can pick up guys that, are going to be out of contract or whatever, and then another window that you supposedly have money for. Hopefully they didn't spend all of it today. But, you still have a team that's building and going in the right direction. They're not going to be perfect this year. I still don't think, even if they get all those guys, they're going to be top of the West. They might be competing at least in that area.
Well, we pulled this off. What are the odds of us getting Acosta from Cincinnati?
Ooh. No.
That would be nice. That'd be sweet.
There has been a rumor before, right? Kellen Acosta to SKC?
No,
No,
not
the other
Luciano Acosta.
Oh, no.
Oh, I didn't
No,
know.
The good
Yeah.
He's going back to Argentina.
Yeah, but, Mr. Burns can pull it off.
Yeah, Kellen doesn't want to be here, so screw him.
Yeah, David, you were saying all of that about, not moving on from players or from people fast enough. And also, I saw you slip in Manchester City on today. You just had to mention Manchester City.
I was complimenting them.
You were setting yourself up
No,
so you could
it was-
make fun of me. I know it.
No, I was complimenting Man City.
They lost 5-0 today.
5-1.
5-1, that's right.
Really?
The header from Holland. Yeah.
To who?
Arsenal.
Arsenal.
Yeah.
But yes, that's where I was going.
Inside.
It's a new
both
regime now.
receiving.
You're talking about they didn't move on from players fast enough. That is exactly what happened this year. That is what the most upset fans were saying was the problem for many years. We kept these older players. We rode them till the wheels fall off. New regime comes in, instantly changes that.
Yep.
Instantly somehow gets someone to pay us money for Polito who forgot how to play soccer.
Which, by the way, their transfer window just opened on the 1st, and he was on the first roster of Chivas yesterday as a knee injury.
Of course.
I don't wish him any ill will, man. I actually like Alan. I think he's a much better person than some people give him credit for. But it just humors me that they just paid $1.5 million for a guy who's now already hurt.
No, Thad, I'm leaning into this. I don't want to give Mr. Burns too much credit.
No.
But
Yet.
What
No.
we have seen so far, hell yes, I am into
Right.
this.
I mean, all you can do is say, excellent.
Before we talk about some of the other things that Mr. Burns is working on, did Alan drive his Lambo down to Chivas? Do you feel like he packed up all of the stuff in Kansas City, like strapped a couch to the top of that beast and just drove down to
He
Chivas?
paid someone else to drive it down.
I'm
there.
sure he did.
What was that other car he had though? There was it was like some very strange colored thing. I don't know.
Enough about Polito.
Yeah.
Robert, you mentioned
wasn't even on the
DJ
bench.
he wasn't even on the bench. Good. That was a good.
'Cause he's
update.
hurt.
That was worth it. Yeah. You mentioned DJ being, hungry, aggressive, all of these things that Peter Vermes wants. I have to imagine this. He feels like a Vermes player, doesn't he?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the fact that he's Serbian, I can fist with that, too, because Peter likes the Eastern European area. But, yeah, he's got the build. He's got the attitude. Will he play defense?
Well, that's where I was going with that. David, you mentioned that he will stay in the box and all of that. The leaving the box, going back into the midfield to get involved was something at the beginning that Peter and everyone liked a lot about Alan Polito because he had to do that in our system in order to get the ball, in order to get involved. Is DJ going to do that? Is he going to do everything that is required in the Peter Vermes system? Or is the system kind of evolving over the years?
Well, you're talking about two different things, right? You're talking about you're asking me two different questions, because is the question, will he drop back and combine? Sure. Not as well as Polito, but sure.
He's just going to...
Or is the question, will he play defense?
Oh,
Like,
right.
because those are
right.
two different things, right? So
Polito didn't really do that either.
exactly. It depends on the system we're playing. We're not really the high pressing team that we used to be. We counter press, but his defense will be fine.
I think so.
Did you guys know he's crazy good at chess?
Did not know that.
He
Where'd
plays
that come
chess.
from?
He streams chess online.
Oh,
Apparently, he had always known how to play, and then during the pandemic, when he was in Belgium, he started playing. He beats masters, not grandmasters, but he beats professionals regularly.
impressive.
So I'm into this. If he's gonna be hungry and driven and gritty on the field, and he can also be cerebral and intelligent and a good soccer IQ, get a spot ready on the wall, baby.
What wall? Which wall?
The Legends wall.
Okay. Well, I didn't know if we were gonna carve out a little window and the Belgrade Cafe adjacent to the Catalan.
Serbian salon is what we're doing for this one.
Hey, Preki was Serbian, correct? We already have a tradition. There we go.
Yes.
Oh my God, it's filling up already. The Catalan Cafe, the Serbian salon.
Nemanja is from there too, sort of.
There you
Sort
go.
of.
Wait, what does sort of mean?
What could sort of possibly mean in that
He
sentence?
is Serbian.
Okay.
We're going to go to break, and then David is going to find that out.
No,
while
he's
we're-
Serbian.
I just worry about saying very specifically where some people are from because some of those used to be different countries. They
Yeah.
broke up.
Yeah.
Some hate each other. I mean, even the Serbian was born in Bosnia.
Which
so
one?
DJ9. I think he was born in Bosnia. Bosnia-Herzegovina.
Nailed it.
That's rare.
There are some other announcements that we expect to be coming soon. We're going to talk about those after the break. All right, Thad, Shoppy the Choppy is catching on. We saw
Why though?
we saw multiple mentions on the
Because
internet
it's simple-minded,
of
David.
people.
That's why.
But you know what? I'm going to offer an amendment to it. Shoppy the Choppy sounds good, fun to say. We could just call him Choppy. Choppy Suleimanov. Right?
Why do you even need the other part? Just Choppy.
Well, I was just that's his name. That is his, Shoppy the Choppy nickname. Or we just name him Choppy.
Or are we going to find a number to put after him too? Choppy 7?
Are we doing this too soon? What if he's soft? What if he gets here in MLS, just punches him in the mouth? Maybe we should reserve these judgments.
Knowing what we know about him, I think he's gonna punch MLS back in the mouth. Probably get a 3-game ban for it.
Yeah, and you're right though. We don't know how actual tough he is. I mean, he was in a brawl and a tunnel. And,
Yeah, in a brawl doesn't mean he won or did well.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe he got his shit rocked.
I've seen people run up and sucker punch somebody and run away, and then there's a big brawl. And they were in it, but they didn't do shit.
Okay, but he's from a part of Russia where they
That says
build
they-
tough people.
Okay.
like he's from Dagestan, right? Which is where all of the UFC champions are coming from right now.
Yeah.
That is Khabib Nurmagomedov, try and pronounce his last name.
Oh, I know that guy.
And
Yeah, he's friends with that guy.
Oh, no.
They produce
I don't like that.
elite wrestlers who these guys are wrestling bears. They're getting beaten in training. I saw a thing where it was punishing guys for being late to training. A guy takes a big stick and is just caning them across the back, and they're not even flinching. I think it's more likely than not that he's probably tough for a soccer player.
Okay.
Well, if he
And-
takes out Klaus first
sold
time we
me.
play St. Louis, I'm good.
That's all I need right there.
And that region has rebelled against Russia in the past. That doesn't make them great people. That doesn't make it.
I'm going to really hold on to that sentence right there. And I don't want anyone to ever prove it wrong. I need it to be true.
But that guy is weird too because he's posed with stuff with that UFC fighter, and then there's a famous midget that's from
Oh,
over
yeah,
there.
that guy.
Ooh,
Yeah.
can we say that word?
Yeah, I don't think you're supposed to. I think it's a little person. But
But
yeah, that
I
guy.
apologize.
Oh, is he
What
talking
is that
about?
guy's name? I can't think of his
And
name.
doesn't he go by that? I mean,
No,
Oh no, I don't think he does. Oh God, I can't think of his name.
Hasbullah.
Hezbollah.
Yes, there you go. That's his name. Yeah.
Hezbollah.
Okay, so I apologize if I said that wrong.
He's
Yeah. So So Shoppy the Choppy is in pop culture, and friends with.
in a very specific part of the world.
Well, this part of the world he's from. So okay, I derailed us to even start the conversation there. But Manu Garcia and Shoppy the Choppy, we do expect very soon this week, right, Thad?
I expect them very soon. I actually expected them last week, but
Yeah.
I don't know why they're still
See,
delayed.
that's why I'm thinking maybe this Joveljic thing came out of nowhere because we were expecting these guys last week. Yeah.
It could
don't
be. I mean, because they've been held out of every game since that was
I think this all moved very quickly. I think the Galaxy
Seems like it.
reached out, and Sporting were one of the lucky early ones they reached out to, and they were just like, yeah, done deal. Let's do it. 3 days start to finish, I bet.
Could be. I mean, we got pictures of DJ9 carrying his stuff out in a trash bag.
Somebody came to us with a striker. We don't have to wade through an entire planet of people to find a 26-year-old somewhere.
Constantly searching through Transfer Market.
You know, Robert last week spoke on my behalf accurately about, you know, we were rating the 6th place Greek league team for players, and what does that say? And I'm proud to tell you all, Eris is up to 5th place now. So, like, you know.
Without them in the lineup, too. 'Cause
Yeah,
they're climbing the ladder without them.
They added a player right when those guys went out. They added a player on loan, but they added a player, and they also didn't have their number one striker, the Moran guy.
David, how would you say his last name? Suleimanov? Suleimanov?
my Russian's a little rusty. So whatever makes your heart happy.
I just wanted to hear you do it. That was, if you couldn't tell, that was the point I'm going for here,
Oh, I know.
because we're doing content,
Uh-huh.
and I wanted you to embarrass yourself.
Right.
Okay.
Now, Cody, you do know Manu Garcia started his youth career with Man City, right?
Really? I missed that.
2014 to 2016, yeah.
Heck yeah. I don't blame him for wanting to get out of that academy and go somewhere else where you could do anything.
Would he have been learning from Balotelli back then?
Oh, man. Yeah, that's why he wanted out, right?
You're not allowed to go get a Man City shirt for him, though. No.
Okay, so it sounds like Manu Garcia is going to be the guy. That's our number 10. That's who's going to be dishing it to DJ9. What do we think?
Oh, I like the sound of that.
I know every time I hear it, it gets
Every
better.
time.
David, you weren't here last week. What do you think of this?
I'll wait to see what he actually does.
Yeah.
I am not super impressed, and I'm hoping to be wrong. But I also, in all fairness, can't say I've watched a lot of the Greek Super League, and they're not playing in Europe because they're the 6th place Greek Super League team. So I can't say it's easy to find tape other than like the YouTube videos with bad techno music behind them.
Yeah.
I'm optimistic, but I want to be optimistic.
Yeah, I don't want to quote an unknown Reddit person, but they said that they do watch the Greek league and it's very defensive. You know, so it's, if you get 6 goals in the Greek league, you're probably going to do well in MLS. But again, I don't have any clue.
Okay. That was good context.
I'm trying to go
take it.
for, positives here.
I'll take that.
He's just here for the facilities. They'll blow him out of the water and he'll be like, oh, this is so nice.
So the roster is slowly being filled out. David, do you think, I heard a rumor about a center back.
Brian Oko? O-K-O-H. I don't know how to pronounce that.
Hold on. If we got DJ9, if we get Garcia and Suleimanov, that puts the roster at how many? 24? I think that would bring them up to 24.
25 maybe.
Well, then yeah, if they get the center back, I think that means 25, which is a roster, right?
Yeah.
Like that's
the roster.
That's comparable to what other teams. You can have 30
combined with senior roster, reserve, or supplemental. And you can technically have more because there's like an unlimited amount of homegrowns you can have. They're off roster.
Mm-hmm. And you're in, the summer transfer window, leaving some spots open.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a debate as to like where your roster should be going into the summer window, because we're not going to add 5 players in the summer. So
yeah,
probably be better served having 28 guys. That way you can bring in 2 more if you need them. But
I don't know. I'd rather them actually be light at going into the summer window because there's more guys available.
yeah, but we don't do business in the summer.
We didn't do business before.
Before him, new regime.
They're burning it down.
I mean, your lips to God's ears. So this guy, he's 21.
I've never known what that sentence means, but go on.
You don't know what that means?
I mean, I know what
speaking it-
people say. When I know the way people use it, I don't think it makes sense.
That I'm hoping that Thad's words make it to God's ears, and then he does unto my sports teams what I'm hoping for.
Does unto them.
Because God really
That was
cares
what I was
about
looking
sports
for out
teams.
of that.
It depends on how hard you pray, Robert. Jeez.
Okay, go on.
Okay, so this guy, he is a 21-year-old Swiss youth international. He plays for their U21s, but he was born in Houston. So
We won't hold that against him.
H-Town?
I don't know how he would count towards our roster, if he would be a domestic player or because he's a Swiss international, if he would need some sort of.
Well, if he was born in America, he would be an American. He would not need an international slot.
Okay. He doesn't play much for Red Bull Salzburg. They're generally speaking the best team in the Austrian Bundesliga, part of the Red Bull Soccer Club network. He's a center back. He's about 6'2", 6'2 and a half, good in the air, fast, but mostly plays with the youth teams. He'd be, one for the future, but he is the profile we should be looking for.
Yeah,
if
I
we want
agree.
to play a high line, you want to have somebody who's athletic. It's that Iko Para mold.
I think he's pretty good with the ball too, if I remember correctly. But he's also had like an injury every year, so he's not played a ton.
He tore his ACL a few years ago, but has otherwise been like relatively healthy.
I'll take your word for it. I was remembering a little differently.
He tore his ACL in November of 21, was out until March of 23, and then he missed 2 games with adductor pain. He had a hamstring injury, and then another hamstring. He was out for 4 games.
Got all this off transfer market.
Yeah.
It's amazing that we can just like find about somebody's health that's we've never known on the other side of the world.
I don't think Austria has HIPAA.
We can find that out about a guy that's in the United States too. So
Let's see what it says about Alan Polito. But yeah, this is one, I'm excited if this is actually true. This is some, you can't build your whole team around 21-year-old youth internationals, but for so long this club has pursued guys at the very end of their prime. To see us going after like young, not in their prime, talented players, to see them grow with the club would be a lot of fun.
And that we wouldn't be instantly reliant upon them to be good right when they got here.
Right.
and that again hopefully with a new regime at Sporting, they sit around for a couple of years, get better, and they get sold for some cash.
There you go.
Transfer Market says Polito's last injury was in 2022, his knee surgery.
Okay.
So
Mostly accurate.
they're not accounting for his current knee injury.
Right.
It's because it doesn't exist.
Could just be what they said. So
I think his seat was too close in the Lambo as he was driving down to Chivas.
So this new regime term we're throwing around, it's one guy, guys. It's not a new regime.
At the head of the organization.
But he still
though.
reports to Vermes.
Oh, yeah, you're right. None of this makes sense. Let me have this, Robert.
he does, but maybe he's coming at it with a different way. So
And maybe Vermes is giving him a little more.
yes,
space.
and maybe he's like because he was asked about this in the last presser after the preseason game, and it's like, are you having fun not having to do this? And he's like, yes.
New mindset.
Could Burns fire Vermes the coach and subsequently get fired by Vermes the soccer czar?
Yes,
Yes.
he could perhaps.
He would just get vetoed. Like the firing would just be vetoed by.
We would bring it before
He'd be like, look, no.
Actually, I think we're gonna keep that. I think we're gonna keep him.
the football manager thing. Like, oh, it was brought to the board, and the board declined your
Yeah.
suggestion.
Is the board right now just Mike Illig?
I'm not even sure there is a board.
I mean, is that the board?
I think it's Mike
Patrick Mahomes.
as the
I was just going to
Yes.
say that.
Pat has a real seat at the table.
Yes.
Although I did hear he had some influence on a firing about a year ago. But anyway,
Oh.
Oh, I don't think I had
Juicy
ever heard that.
information there.
Was it? I'll ask you off the pod.
No, why would we do that? He just offered this on air. Poke at it.
again, I
Ask
don't know
him.
if it's true, but I heard that when it was the Gavin Wilkinson stuff, and that as things got more and more negative, there was a rumor. Again, I don't have any confirmation that Patrick and Brittany showed up at the offices, and like 2 days later, next day or the next day after that, he was gone.
Oh, I was hoping
Hell
it was
yeah.
going to be Hartzell. I was hoping that for some reason, Pat and Hartzell had beef.
Oh,
That thing is like way more serious. That's no fun. I was hoping that like Pat didn't like Hartzell's tight ass pants.
No, Patrick went in to get Hartzell to come out and work with his brother.
Okay.
You know, I think Patrick should be the official for the media game this year.
Ooh.
Can we make that happen?
I enjoyed Roger. Oh, that was at the current game.
That was at the current, yes. He was
So
giving us
guys-
a very hard time that time, too.
I'm changing the conversation here towards just MLS as a whole. World Cup 2026 is on the way. Over the last few months, I've been hearing a lot of different rumors about changes coming, how the league can lean into this. I do very much hope the powers that be are finding ways to capitalize on all of this coming. The biggest event, the biggest opportunity they've had in 30 years. One thing we heard about again recently was the changing of the MLS schedule from fall to spring, or to fall to spring and a winter break.
At
We've
least
all-
a rumor of it.
It is just a rumor. We were talking about it in the KCSJ Slack, but there's also a bunch of the other rumors too that we've been hearing about. The major changes to NCAA and how those teams might be joining the professional ranks. There are more changes this year to the Open Cup and the Leagues Cup.
Yeah.
My general reaction to all of this is yes. I'm not diving into the minutia of what all of this means, how it will work, or if I believe it'll work. I just like this general vibe of we need to change things, we need to try things, we need to try to capitalize on this. Especially the NCAA. That's one that I'm just like, yes, whatever you want to try, I am here for that. But let's I do want to ask Thad, I know we've talked about it before, but how do you feel about this fall to spring schedule, maybe using the World Cup as a launching pad for it? Where do you stand with all this?
I don't know that I'm in love with the fall to spring, but if you're ever going to do it, that is absolutely the best time to do it. Because
Yeah.
you can do a spring tournament, get some games in, break for the World Cup, come back after that, and start a new season. It's the best time because you don't want to be doing a whole lot of playing during the World Cup, obviously. I mean, you're just not going to have any eyes.
Yeah.
Too much conflicts with players and all that other stuff. So
Yeah.
it's just perfect time. If you're going to take a long break, there's the time to do it. I don't care if they do it. I just hope that it's done logically because I don't want to be going to games in Minnesota in February for early CONCACAF Champions Cup game. It would suck.
Yeah, and I think the competing with NFL and college football is another question there, but
But as if you go, because there's going to be conflicts no matter what you do. But if you do the fall spring schedule, you'll be competing at the early part of your season
Right.
with college football, NFL. But your spring season, when you'll be going to your championships, will be competing with early baseball. Like, who cares?
for the first time in decades, Lexi Lawless had a pretty decent idea and suggested that they, like for the half season or the season that would be lost in this switchover, that they should just do like a 4-month-long tournament and award a trophy like
I
that.
think Thad takes a bit of insult to that.
I mentioned this on our pod recently. That didn't come from Lawless, came from me, damn it. He's copying me.
Would the
'Cause
the
he
trophy
listens.
be 3D printed?
Well, naturally.
Okay. Also, the redhead on redhead crime between you and Lawless. My goodness.
We don't claim him
There's
anymore.
there's a lot of like pros and cons to switching. I think the biggest pro to it all is that it would align our main transfer window with everybody else's main transfer window. It's really hard to build a roster.
That's like the whole thing, right? Like,
I mean,
I think that's it.
It's really hard to build a roster when our main offseason is the winter window, and that's when, a lot of clubs around the world are pretty reluctant to move players on in the middle of their season.
Mm-hmm.
That's the biggest selling point. But I mean, as much as it isn't fun to sit in Kansas City in like mid-July and just sweat uncontrollably, do you want to
Better
be
than
at a
sitting there being cold.
do you want? I mean, I disagree personally, but like I understand. But do you want to be at a game at Children's Mercy Park in mid-January when the pitch is frozen?
Woof.
Been pretty close to that.
Hey, we got good grounds crews here. The field wouldn't be frozen.
it was frozen for an MLS Cup. I think could be frozen for a regular
That was a
season.
decade ago. That was over a decade ago. Technology has advanced since then.
Hey, don't forget the so-called blizzard we just had, Cody. But anyway, the diversity of the league, though, there's more teams in warmer climates. So I think it could be mitigated. You know, less than a handful of games in those colder cities. I think it could work. But, you know, do we want all eyes or try to get eyes on MLS when soccer eyes are on the EPL, on all the other foreign leagues? Do we want to compete with that as well as the NFL and the NBA and college football?
There's already plenty of overlap.
Yeah, but also like we're not competing with the NFL. MLS is not competing with the NFL other than our current playoff setup, because we have been putting playoff games in the heart of the NFL season when there is competition. But like the NFL only plays on Sundays until like college football is over, and then you get the occasional Saturday game, right? MLS plays almost every game at either 5:30 or 7:30 on Saturdays, with the occasional Sunday game.
It's a thing this year.
What competition, right? Like, how easy would it be to just say, we'll play on Saturdays and compete against college football, and the NFL is just what it is? You know, there's not that much competition. The real question, so World Cup ends July 19th. If we switch to a fall schedule, we're starting games a month later, give or take, right?
Right.
Like, we're going to start in August. Or if you keep it in the current setup, you pause the season midway through, let the tournament play out, and then immediately pick back up. You're talking like a couple weeks worth of dead space if you switch to the fall schedule. There's pros and cons to both.
And there's still, and I know we always talk about everybody else in the world does this fall to spring schedule. Not everybody else in the world does it.
Right.
Countries that are in the colder regions tend to not do it for the same reasons we didn't do it. So I just want to make that clear.
Yeah, I mean, for as many teams playing like warm climates, like you can play games in Miami in January and be totally fine, right? Like it'll actually be really pleasant. Same with Houston, California, whatever. Do teams like New England or Minnesota need to be on like a 4 to 6 week road swing? And then like they get the return fixtures.
Dude, scheduling is already so complex and overlapping competition. Like I don't know how you could even do that, because that was my first thought too. Like just have it in your head, like maybe kind of protect something like that, like less Kansas City home games in January, et cetera, et cetera.
It would be a massive road trip.
Well, I mean, if we're not playing games in Kansas City in January, that's 4 games that you're not playing at home.
Yeah,
which means you have 4 home games later in the season. But like it's an inherently unbalanced schedule.
It's unbalanced anyway.
Yeah.
Right, but that's the criticism of the league, right? Like the Supporters Shield, the criticism of the Supporters Shield is that it doesn't mean anything because you can go like 2 years without playing a team, right? Whereas like the reason that, you know, European soccer is so great is it's a home and away against every team in the league. Whoever wins the most wins. You know, that's the best team. But MLS, like you can dominate the Eastern Conference and be not good in the Western Conference, and if you're a Western Conference team, like you don't do that well.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's been people complain before that you would have this long road trip or the long homestand, and then you'd have a long road trip. You know, it is what it is. It is
what it is. That's the second time. That's the second time someone said that on this podcast.
I hate that phrase, man. I was just trying to find a better way to say it, and I failed. But it would just be the way it worked. I don't love it, but
it is what it is.
You know,
imagine playing in Toronto or Montreal in like January.
Yeah, but see, like, how do you protect that? When could you play? When do you play all of their home games? You can't just cram them all into a 1 month period.
Right. I mean, the answer is you keep the schedule the way it is.
Doesn't one of those stadiums have a roof, or is that Vancouver?
That's Vancouver.
Maybe we'll get a roof here to play some January games. A retractable one.
We'll play at the new Arrowhead.
Okay. I like that, actually.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see it half filled.
I just want it on the Missouri side.
Why?
I'm tired of going to Kansas.
Yeah. The audacity to have decent roads.
Okay. So if this switch occurs, I'm sure MLS will do their research and make sure that
Yeah.
It means an increase in revenue from advertisers, or worth Apple
Well,
for
Apple
the
is
next
apparently
7 years. But,
yeah, Apple is apparently pushing for this.
Are they?
I heard this is all part of these changes that Apple is wanting to, and I don't know if it's in their eyes that will put us on the same level in the world as all these other leagues or what, but yeah, I didn't really understand that.
Well, I am glad that Apple is doing a Sunday night game MLS and Apple doing a Sunday night game every week this year. I think that's a good change.
That's good. Give us Friday night football. I want Friday night.
Yeah, I mean, there should be a game every night, every day on the weekend. You just pick the right games to move.
Not that
and
I'm a
stuff like
loser and I don't do anything on Friday nights and I would sit home and watch every week. It's not the case. I'm very fun and cool and popular, so I'm very busy on my Friday nights. But every now and then.
You're like 36 years
I
old.
would-
Just embrace it.
I'm very fun,
not
cool, and
36
popular. Cody,
Yeah.
you need to cut that out so we can play that
Cody,
occasionally on
you're
pods.
36 years old, man.
I'm not.
I'm old.
I
don't
will
care.
say I'm totally fine with changes to the Leagues Cup. The change I'm looking for is to just never have it again, because it's stupid. But it's a bummer seeing the MLS try to kill the Open Cup. That's a bummer.
MLS
Yeah.
is not trying to kill the Open Cup.
Oh, because all of our teams are playing in it.
It's U.S. Soccer's issue. It's their problem. If they would make it worthwhile, MLS would be in. They don't.
How do you make it
They're the
worthwhile?
problem.
Yeah, define making
What
it
would
worthwhile?
make it worthwhile?
Well, you get some more publicity for it. You
What
make
is
it
that? How-
attractive.
How?
And they
What?
haven't done that.
That's a big thing right there. That's not an easy. You're trying to change the public perception.
But who's in
of
charge
this
of the
thing.
Open Cup? It's not MLS. So we can't kill the Open Cup. It's the U.S. Soccer's in charge of the Open Cup. They need to make it something that is
But we're the
valued
ones.
and has,
But MLS is pulling teams from it.
because it's not what it's supposed to be.
In what way?
Do you want your MLS to
like what?
search out revenue and find revenue so they can grow as a league, or do you want them to?
First of all, it should be MLS paying it forward to the lower teams in the pyramid. It
Which-
should be a great like MLS
Which is
teams
all
should be
part
Like
of
you do with
growing
your
the
money?
sport.
MLS teams should be forced to play road games in places like Omaha because it does so much more for them than it does for us to host Omaha, right? Thad's raising his hand. But define make it worth our while. The FA Cup, which is beloved, let's say. Do you know what the prize money is for the FA Cup?
I'm not talking about prize money. I'm just saying,
What makes it worth it though? It's the
That's
glory
a
of
valid
the cup.
question. What makes it worth it
Like,
for
define-
the MLS teams that don't think it's worth it?
Define make it worth it. It's the one glory of the cup. Two, it's the glory of the sport. It's paying it forward to everyone else in the pyramid to
It behooves every MLS team to grow the sport, spread the game in every corner of this country,
yeah.
and get more people following the game.
What's
so
the
your
issue?
theory is MLS should give money away for this tournament instead of, fill their coffers a little bit more.
Yes. For the greater
That's an interesting financial model.
how much money does Cliff Illig have? For real. You don't think that every single multi-billionaire owner of every club, and I don't hate billionaires, good for them. Cliff Illig's a real smart, successful guy. He's extremely nice. But you don't think that Cliff Illig can afford to forego match day revenue from Omaha versus Sporting at Children's Mercy Park
it's not about-
to
I'm
make
just
sure
fighting the
that
side of MLS right
It's
here,
not
guys.
about asking a billionaire to spend more money or whatever.
no, it's just foregoing the revenue of having a home game.
They have to spend money on signing a player.
Sure,
That's how
sure.
you make your team better. That's how you that's how you grow the league. We get better players here. They
But
have to
that's-
spend money.
That's what MLS has said, that U.S. Soccer has not done a good enough job promoting the tournament, making it worthwhile for them. So they're looking other places where they can gain revenue and grow the league. That's their whole line.
Thad, you got excited earlier and raised your hand. What was that about?
Well, first, I'm going to agree with Robert partly. Yes, U.S. Soccer has totally screwed this tournament by having ignored it for a long time and just letting it go on autopilot.
Yes, I agree.
They do deserve a shitload of blame right there. There's no doubt about that.
And so does MLS.
Again, it's not necessarily MLS's responsibility to grow that,
Right.
other than it's the national thing, right? It's a nation thing. Not every nation takes it as seriously as some do. But I want to be one of those nations that do take it. But again, in Robert's defense a little bit, why should we help Omaha make money? If we want to grow the game, yes, but they're not in the same exact structure. This isn't a pro rel thing. This isn't they're all in the same FA thing. it's the MLS and USL are completely separate entities. So we help USL make money because it's the generous thing to do of that in that regard. Yes, I want them to be better. I would love for ProRel, but I'm not going to live and die on that hill. But they're two different organizations, and USL does not have MLS's good. They don't have MLS's best interest at heart. Okay, why should MLS have USL's best interest at heart? If USL could kill MLS, they would do it and take over in a second.
Yes, they would.
Right, but there's more leagues that participate in the Open Cup than just the USL. Like that. That's where we're getting lost.
What are those other leagues?
Soon to be NCAA teams, apparently.
Maybe.
I mean,
there's USL Championship. There's USL 1. There's USL 2. There's NISA, if they still exist. NASL's gone.
But
and then
at
the
one
amateur
point,
ones, the totally amateur ones.
Right. But like we're talking about grassroots development of the game, right? There have been teams that have made it who are straight up amateur teams and had to play MLS clubs.
Yeah.
Okay, so a few years ago, like
they get paid for it.
A beer league team got to travel to like Audi Stadium, whatever the DC United team is. You don't think it would have been better for them to host that game that they could have sold out and like made like 2 years worth of revenue?
No.
You don't think so?
No. You know why?
Why?
Because whatever field they would have been at, that beer league team would have held 400 people at most. Okay, hosting that at example Children's Mercy Park. Maybe only 12,000 people show up because it's not a big deal and they just don't want to come out to see a beer league team get beat, but they get a cut of those tickets.
Yeah, David, I'm not sure how that club would make 2 years of revenue in that one game.
Because they don't get revenue in the first place.
Well, because they usually have to find like for a beer league team, they have to find a different venue that meets the pitch standard, right? But like if Sporting came to Union Omaha or like MLS Cup champion LA Galaxy had to play at Union Omaha at Warner Park, that seats enough people that they would make a substantial amount of money.
Okay, so you found a handful of teams that could seat a substantial amount of people for that one game.
There's
what
a
about
lot
all
of
these other ones?
There's a lot of USL Championship and even a fair amount of USL 1 teams that do have decent stadiums. They could make some money. They wouldn't necessarily make more money than playing at a large stadium, an MLS stadium. It's not necessarily a one or the other. But when you're talking like the beer leagues and USL 2 and stuff, they don't play in those places.
But the goal is to grow the game. It's to grow interest and eyeballs in the game. Like there are markets where there are USL teams, but like, USL is still a minor league, right? So people in Wisconsin are not paying as much attention to soccer as they could because there's no major competitions coming their way. So it grows the game. Also, frankly, the hubris of MLS to pretend like we're the only thing in the ecosystem is crazy. The USL is putting guys in Europe.
Yeah.
Right? So the more interaction they have, and I understand that there's, that like NASL has a lawsuit against MLS, et cetera, but, the team that figures out how to mine USL for players and start making transfers for like the handful of USL guys who are actually good enough to come up to MLS, the ones for the future, guys who are in USL academies, that's the MLS team that's going to be shockingly good. And so it's just ridiculous to say like, well, it doesn't benefit MLS in this closed competition, so we shouldn't do it at all. It's ridiculous.
I for one, am not saying they should not do it at all. I think that yes, MLS should play all their teams. But if the argument is that we're just going to benefit Omaha or Des Moines or wherever, it's a little bit less of a valid argument in my opinion because they're not here to benefit us, right? They're just here to benefit themselves. We can work together.
But like the Leagues Cup doesn't benefit us either.
Why doesn't
it? In what way does it benefit us?
Cash.
Okay.
Tickets, TV, interaction between the two top leagues in North America. Because, God knows Canada doesn't have anything.
Okay. You think that, like, it has
Canada's
grown.
You think
that playing, like, Chivas grew fan interest in Sporting Kansas City?
Yes.
Do you have any metrics that suggest that that's actually true?
Specifically Chivas, no. But I will say specifically Toluca. Because I know somebody who came up here to watch Toluca play and lose, and went back to Toluca, went, crap, I liked Kansas City, and now they are living in Kansas City.
He really got your ass just
Yeah, he got me with the one.
Well,
David,
I
you
don't
can't-
know all the fans, but have I ever talked to people who, like, okay, they went to Chivas Sporting game? Yes. And then they said, Sporting wasn't bad, and they watched it because Sporting hasn't always been bad against Chivas.
I mean, David, the overall point stands that he's making here. We don't like the Leagues Cup, but it did do a thing. The first year Messi was in it. It did get ratings. People were watching.
Well, it got ratings because of Messi, not because it was the League's Cup.
There are Hispanic people in this country that tuned in and watched some of those games on Apple TV that wouldn't have done it otherwise.
And aren't necessarily going to be legacy fans, right?
Not
They
necessarily, but if you get 100, then you're doing something.
If MLS played against the Premier League, people would watch it, but it's not like a bunch of Englishmen would all of a sudden be Sporting KC fans.
How do you know that? Maybe they would. Also, if you don't know this, in England, they actually kind of have a soft spot for MLS. It's like a novelty thing. They watch it late at night.
All right, now David, you cannot argue. Oh, how do you have proof that gained fans when your point is that it gains fans and you have no proof of it either? But I think a team that is centered in Des Moines, if they get an MLS team, because MLS has grown the revenue so much that they can expand into Des Moines, is going to make the Des Moines fans, soccer fans, more than a typical game that they're playing in the U.S. Open Cup against an MLS team.
Des Moines not going to get a club because
I'm just
MLS
saying,
has revenue.
on
They're going to
theory.
they'll get a club if they have a billionaire who's willing to fund the operation, regardless of MLS's revenue.
Right.
Well,
it always comes down to
but-
ownership and having the money
yeah,
and the wherewithal to do something.
Well,
It
good.
has
sure, that's
nothing.
part
It
of it,
has
too.
nothing to do with the league making money. It has entirely to do with do you have a viable ownership option? Because they'll give a club to whoever has the money to buy in.
Well, aren't billionaires also going to look at the viability of the league and say, this league is really growing, I want to invest in this?
no, because they're going to look at the viability of the club more than they look at the viability of the league. The league's not going anywhere.
Okay, well, you can say no to everything that we bring up.
The league's
Doesn't mean you're right.
the league's artificially propped up.
Yeah.
Like the league and the teams are artificially propped up.
And don't compare the Open Cup to the FA Cup, by the way, because they're two totally different things.
No, they're not. They're
Yes, they are.
They're the exact same
No, again,
theoretical cup competition.
Again, the pro reg thing and everything connected. It's
There's nothing
completely
related
different.
to pro rel with the FA Cup though.
Well,
Yeah, but those teams can go up. So,
Right.
like, if a team plays
Not
and does
from
well,
the open, not from the FA Cup.
no,
though.
they
Well,
don't go
no,
from that,
no,
but they
of course
can
not.
they can get the revenue, they can get the popularity, they can get players, et cetera, from
But the
from
whole-
being that appearance.
The whole point of an open cup, whether it's the German Pokal, whether it's the FA Cup or whatever, the whole point was that in ye olden times, you could get a bunch of beer league dudes who might make a run and win something, right? Like Bethlehem Steel won the Open Cup a bunch of
Right.
times. But it's the glory of the cup, even though the FA Cup is entirely dominated by the 6 best clubs in England every single year. It's the glory of the cup. It's watching fun
You still
ties.
get those individual
It's,
games.
it's
where-
fun watching the weird ties where like
I like those.
Man City has to go to some
Wrexham
like
made a run last year.
well,
for example.
like, even less than that though. Like it's Man City having to go play some plumbers and
PSG playing a 4th tier team.
like, like playing a bunch of like
I like
bin
that.
guys.
Yeah, we all like that. We like the romanticism of it. We
but
get
the Open Cup is the exact same as the FA Cup. It's the exact same structure. It's an open cup. Like if we,
But how many more
But they
eyes
like-
are
if
on
we
the FA
if we
Cup?
found
Yes,
7
he's
of our
right.
friends, well,
They like the sport there more than we like it here. It's another competition. We already ask Americans to watch 5 other competitions. Now you want this made up thing between some small team I've never heard of.
And then,
That's why. This is the whole thing. It's not as big of a sport here, David. I'm sorry
Sure.
to break your heart.
and there's
but it's still the same
density
thing.
of amount of teams there within a small amount of space also helps that. Again,
Right.
I want the Open Cup. I want MLS playing in
Oh,
all
I
those.
do too. I'm not against it.
And I just another example of Sporting playing a big team and getting fans from that was Manchester United. That was a really huge one where like the next day after Wizards beat Manchester United, they got like 7,000 new season ticket inquiries.
right, because a bigger team came here.
Yeah.
Right. That's my point. Is that in the Open
you were
Cup,
making the
if
case
the
with
bigger,
Chivas. You were making
if
the case
the
with
bigger
Chivas.
team comes, if a bigger team comes here, like if Man United came here and Kansas City got more popular, Kansas City soccer got more popular. If Sporting Kansas City went to
But it was-
Des Moines soccer would be more popular because the bigger club came to town, and that is what the purpose of the cup is to grow the game.
I'm not arguing that, but it's still a different organization completely. So you would be benefiting an organization that wants to kill your organization.
I don't think U.S. soccer wants to kill MLS.
Not U.S.
I wouldn't be
Soccer.
so sure
No,
about
he's
that.
saying USL.
Right.
I people will argue with me, but I still will predict that USL will make a challenge to go up to Division 1 sometime in the next few years.
100%.
Sure, absolutely.
So let's benefit that organization. Again, I would like everybody to be playing. I will argue against MLS not having all MLS teams playing because I like it. I'm for the Open Cup totally. I just think some of the arguments are not as valid as we got to help them grow. No, I would rather just beat the damn everybody that we play. I'd rather, if they play in 5 different tournaments, I want them to compete in 5 different tournaments.
All right, let's go to break here.
Did we take too long?
No, that was very good. I loved every second of that. We didn't even get to the NCAA soccer stuff. We should save that for when Mike is here. I would like to hear Mike jump into this overall U.S. soccer conversation.
I would love to know more about the NCAA stuff because
Yeah,
right
me
now
too.
there's not enough
I know.
info out there. And in NCAA might do more to kill USL lower teams than anything.
Wow, interesting. Okay. Not hearing anyone else with that take. Good take. Thanks for that. We'll be right back. All right. Temwa Chawinga. How long is that extension? It just fell out of my head.
3 years.
Oh, it's
to
just 3 years.
2028.
Till 2028. Yes, that was what I saw, was the picture of her with the jersey that said 2028.
Well, they hinted at
They
it with a
teased it,
2028 tease.
Yeah.
Yes.
And she's so cool.
I
I
know.
love watching her play. She's so good.
I like watching her walk into the games and the outfit she's wearing. Like, she is. She's so cool.
I want her and DS9 to go open up like a pickleball thing to compete with Padel.
Oh, man. So, Thad, Temwa is here to stay. What do you think? We don't know how much she got paid, right?
No, the NWSL does not reveal that information at all. So
And what would be your guess, that? Can you give us a ballpark?
Do you
she
think
got
that there
paid
were...
a lot for that league.
Yeah, there you go. A lot for this league. Yeah, okay, that's fair. Do you think that there were other teams around the world who came sniffing?
Oh yes, I think so.
Do you know so?
Pretty confident. Let's leave it at that.
Okay.
She would have been, of course, she would have been wanted by other teams around the world. There's several high-profile NWSL players that have left recently. Naomi Gurma being, the largest transfer ever.
Yeah, she just went to, where was that?
England.
Yeah, somewhere in England.
Crystal Dunn and her significant other to PSG.
Yep.
There's some others out there. I don't.
We
keep track of
have
them
asked that
close.
question on this show before of, are other leagues in the world able to spend more money? Like, there's no other step to go to, like the dynamic that MLS has. But it does sound like some of these other leagues, or maybe the time could come eventually where these other leagues do have money and could outspend some of the NWSL teams.
I think you're just going to see the kind of a leapfrogging of different things going on.
Yeah,
So like
yeah.
when NWSL started, they were the best league because really a lot of women's leagues in Europe weren't very good at that point in time. There
Right.
might be one good team or two good teams, but they really picked up over those last couple decades.
They have.
And so it kind of will keep leapfrogging. So I don't know exactly how much European teams can pay or if there's any caps or anything like that. But I'm afraid it will always be like on the men's side, these two teams can spend a lot of money. Those two teams can spend a little bit of money. And then you'll have 10 teams that don't spend any money and they'll be basically beer league teams. So it's, it kind of sucks on the men's side too, in my opinion. But
Yeah.
I think that's what we're going to see over time. But like if you listen to the latest edition of Keeping Current with Kansas City with Daniel Sperry and I, we kind of go into that a little bit too.
Great plug.
I'm learning slowly.
It is out now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually been out for a day. I posted the post this morning, but I like to sometimes for some of those put it out and then like do a post a little bit later, see how it builds on its own. But anyway, we talk about that. But teams in NWSL who are efficient and smart and spending their money correctly and doing all this stuff are somehow locking players down for 2, 3, 4 years, like Temwa, like a lot of the players on the Current. They've done a really good job of spending the money correctly, locking those players down, and not seeing them walk off.
And they signed another forward, too.
Yeah, they actually traded for Haley Hopkins, the $50,000.
Great
That
name.
one.
Great name.
She's a very big, strong forward, played a little bit more on the left, but Vako, we'll see her in the middle, so she'll compete for time with Bia and some others. But she's
Also big.
Yes. I think Vako likes big, strong forwards who have some speed, have some ability. She only scored like 3 goals last year, but on a team that she was the third highest scorer.
Okay.
So I think on this team, even if she plays less minutes, she'll probably get more goals. And then
She'll have more opportunities.
And then they also re-signed Kristen Hamilton and Elizabeth Ball.
Hammy sticking around.
Did you take a shot for that, Cody?
No, I'm not gonna lie. That was the first I heard of it. That moment right there. It's the first I had heard that.
Yeah, well, good. You should listen to the other pod.
I was hoping you let that slide. For the record, I click on all of them and at least play for like 5 minutes, so we get credit for it.
So what happened on the first couple minutes in this last pod?
I said I click play. Sometimes I walk away and go to the bathroom.
So just for the
You
record,
can listen in the bathroom.
I wished my wife a happy birthday on the last pod. So
Well, happy birthday to her.
I get to do it again. I told her I was going to sneak it into this pod.
And you did. Well done.
But they both came back. A lot of fans were worried because they had not re-signed. And there's a very weird thing that's going on, and I don't feel like I can say it accurately, so I'm not going to. But they were going to go do something else and come back. They were always going to come back to the Current, but it was going to probably be like a month into the season. So one of these days I will be able to figure out how to make that, know exactly what was going on so I can say it. I just don't like saying things that I don't know. So
Okay. Good Current update. Go check out the podcast. Back to Sporting Kansas City. Pulskamp is the guy, David. I've been seeing some conversations, maybe some arguments beginning in our Slack channel about Pulskamp. Where do you stand on him? He's the guy. The big bear has the gloves this year. What do you think?
Yeah, people on Cauldron Facebook and people on Reddit are really down on Pulskamp.
Are they?
Yeah, like
Well,
really down.
they're really down on everyone. So you have to
And
judge
what are they
it.
saying, David?
You have to judge
particularly?
it based on
Just that our team is going to be absolute dog shit because John's in between the pipes.
No, see, those people are just always down. So they're just down the same level they are with the rest of the team.
Like,
so it's that.
he's-
I think the translation there is I think they think he's going to be okay.
He is a drop off from Tim, but Tim is like an all timer, right? Like Tim was an exceptional shot stopper. Was arguably top.
That is.
I mean,
and he wasn't at John's age.
right?
yeah,
He was. I mean,
he was a pool keeper at that point.
like we've had
without
a
team.
couple really great keepers, and he's arguably our best one, right? Like
Whoa.
I said, arguably. I mean, there is a legitimate debate to be had as to how Tim ranks with Miola and also Nielsen. Like, I mean, tell me I'm wrong.
Tim has had a few years here, two maybe at the end where.
He wasn't as consistent.
Thank you for
Yeah,
sharing.
but I think Miola and Nielsen both had better center back cores and back lines.
But
okay, that's probably
it's a debate, and that's my point. Is like Tim is that good.
He is.
John is a drop off, but John is also 23 until I think Robert said before we started that he's 23 until he'll be 24.
In April.
But he's
in
still
a
young.
month.
He's still young.
Not that young.
For a keeper, he's very young.
When do keepers average start becoming starters? Like 26,
27, 28. Yeah. Like,
Are you just making that up?
No,
Sounds like you're
that's-
just making that up.
that is the one
That's a soccer
position.
truth.
There's the one position where you generally see guys develop later.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's been studies done on like where the peaks are for various positions, and keeper was always much later, and then center backs, and then outside backs, midfielders, strikers like peak at 27. Some of that has changed because of medicine, science, black magic.
But John will be in a large part as good as the back line in front of him. When our defense has been bad, he's been hung out to dry a lot of times.
Let me ask you this. A few years ago, he was younger and had the potential of wherever the team thought it was.
Mhm.
We have seen plenty of him over the last, say 3 years, 2 years maybe. Does he have less potential in your eyes after what we've seen of him after 2 years? Has the potential, the ceiling gone down at all as he's gotten older and hasn't become a superstar?
In my eyes, no.
Okay.
I mean,
So-
I think he's
Has he progressed in the last 2 years? That's where my holdup is.
It's
right
tough
there.
to say because he's gotten inconsistent minutes, and we've had a really trash back line. It's tough to say.
Okay, yeah,
that's
fair.
He is a noticeably worse shot stopper than Melia. Melia's one of the better shot stoppers in MLS history. Like, so there is going to be a drop off. Pulskamp's biggest weakness is playing out with his feet. That's a skill that where he has more ability to improve than how quickly his reaction times are.
Yeah, you can get better at that.
Right.
So you said, Cody, that we've seen plenty of him. He only played in 6 matches in 2024, MLS
Okay.
matches, 5 in
MLS
2023,
matches.
right? But yes, your point about his distribution definitely needs to improve.
Yeah.
But I think the reason that a goalkeeper blossoms later than other players do is because you've got to get that right chemistry with your back line. You've got to have that communication where Pulskamp at times has been a little, his reactions after goals look like he's looking someone to blame.
He's
instead of-
fiery.
Yeah, he's strong mentally in that way. He's fiery, but he needs to also learn how to work together as a unit with those people, get them to trust him that he is the guy, and thus everything works together more solidly, more fluidly, and then you can become a better shot stopper because you're confident where your defenders are going to be. They're doing what you want them to do, and you guys are a unit. And I think that's the part of the game that Pulskamp really needs to improve on.
And that's part of why they develop later, right? It's like growing into yourself to be able to command a back line. It's really hard to be 21 and telling, let's say, Matt Beasler, like, go do something, right? It's also a matter of like having the confidence to go pursue balls into the box, whether they're on corners or crosses. It's how you command your area. A lot of that comes with age.
It also comes with rhythm, which he hasn't been able to get because rhythm games, you get into that rhythm, you get that comfortability. Back in 2022, he played in the last 13 games. He went 5-4-3 when he was there, and that was 3 years ago. Not a bad showing, but hopefully he's matured by then too.
I missed my window there, but David, I wanted to get in and say Jordan Pickford would like a word. He was like a teenager that was running teams when he was young, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
I think you can run teams when you're young.
You can.
You can.
You got to have a strong personality, and you got to be willing to do it. And I think they have that capability. I think another reason they mature later is that they just got to get hit in the head often enough to be dulled to the senses.
So, Cody, what happened to Zach Steffen when he went to Man City, for example? Let's look at the guy with high potential, and then what happened when he went there?
Not a lot.
He failed because
He didn't play
Yeah.
ever.
was there ever any word coming out of why he didn't play? What was missing in his game?
I mean,
Well, he's just behind one of the greatest keepers on
Right.
planet Earth was the thing.
And
Thought maybe there was more to it that you maybe had some inside
no,
knowledge
'cause
of. Or,
No.
he had some good showings in like a cup game, or,
He did.
some of that type of stuff.
It's not that he didn't play well. It's just
But then-
maybe he got to Guardiola, the best coach in the world, on the best team in the world,
Yeah,
and
right.
okay, maybe he's not the best keeper in the world.
Also, wasn't there a little bit of an injury, so he didn't play for a little bit, and
I
then
think
he just
so, yeah.
lost his spot, and
Yeah.
so then he wasn't playing at all because somebody passed him up for being the backup minutes.
Yeah, there was a period where Pep did like him, said good things about him after a game. So he had a moment, but
Then he gets left off the U.S. team, which a reminder, Pulskamp was good enough to at least be a backup on the Olympic team.
Exactly. Yeah.
it's true.
but there's also, will peak Jon Pulskamp, or I think it might be Jon Pulskamp, since we're going soft J's today. Will he be
I
better?
say yawn.
Will he be better than peak Tim Melia? I mean, probably not, right? Melia was that good, but there's also different ways to play that position. You can be a reactionary shot stopper. Melia learned how to play with his feet a lot later, but Jimmy Nielsen was a positioning guy.
Yeah.
Jimmy Nielsen, when he was with Sporting, was not a dive and acrobatically get to every ball that you could possibly get to like Tim was.
He literally couldn't move in the MLS Cup
He-
final.
but
so-
he knew how to position himself.
And the back line.
And the back line, there's you can be a sweeper keeper. John is pretty aggressive about getting out and trying to clean up,
Well, yeah,
balls.
the game has changed.
Right.
since-
So there's a lot of different ways to do this. I just feel like he's getting kind of hard done by the fans without really getting a fair shake. And I think that Jon has the potential to be a very good MLS keeper.
Well, is this do or die for him this year? If he doesn't make it this year,
I don't
done?
think that's fair.
I mean, he's
Okay.
going to get
I'm
a
just
whole
asking.
year. He's going to be, what do we say, 25?
24 until he's 25.
Right,
And
24.
then eventually he'll
all
be
year.
26. And Thad, correct me if I'm wrong, I think after 26 he would then be 27.
That is my understanding, but I will need to check my notes on that.
Sources are saying.
I don't know what Garber would say about it. Maybe he'd turn 28 at some point too.
I will say he will get half a season to prove himself, absolutely. If he's on the fence, they might keep going, or they might try to bring in somebody in the summer window.
He'd have to be doing really bad, I think, for them to not just ride it out this season.
I would think so too, but I'm just saying that there's the possibility because their backup is Sheway and Korkamp.
Yeah.
And I'm high on Court Camp too, but he's like what?
16? Well, or
16.
did he just turn 17? He just turned 17.
Until he
was
turns
16,
18, right?
Until he turned 17 recently, and now 17, and he'll someday be 18.
I wouldn't hate seeing competition to push Jon, but I would like to see them give him the run to actually come into his own.
right?
And that's always
Exactly.
going to be a quandary between how you develop players. Some players you got to push them by having somebody ready to compete and then take their minutes from them occasionally. And some guys you got to just give them the long run. And there's not necessarily a right way, but there's a right way for that particular player.
Speaking of the long run, Cody, how long is our pod today?
It's a good long one. We're almost at an hour and a half.
Okay. I have one final thing for us to talk
What
about.
do you got?
Okay, this is MLS adjacent. Do you guys remember John Duran played for Cincinnati?
No.
Not really.
Okay, so he was brought in as a DP for Cincinnati, record signing in MLS at the time. I mean, he was a huge player. His guaranteed Chicago. His guaranteed competition. Whatever. But
You're derailing yourself.
I
now.
am. But in 2022, his guaranteed compensation was $167,000 a year. He gets transferred to Aston Villa in the Prem and was making a ton of money. He just completed a transfer to Al Nassr in Saudi Arabia for like 77 million pounds.
Jesus.
His salary is 320,000 British pounds per week. He's making 2,000 pounds per hour. He's making 46,000, a day.
Well, no wonder we lost out to that Barcelona B captain to Saudi Arabia.
I mean, for real though, the numbers over there are just ridiculous.
Yeah. They should have good teams over there with as much money as they spend, but
But his compensation to go from MLS to where he's at in Saudi Arabia in 3 years,
3
he's
years.
increased 10,000%.
is he any good?
He mostly played on the
doesn't
bench for
matter,
Aston
Thad.
Villa behind Ollie Watkins.
So probably no. I
It
mean,
doesn't matter anymore if they're good or not.
that's
He was fine.
just think of all these players in MLS that just 10 years ago would be like still really good players if they played today, but they would be millionaires now. But
Thad, I can't believe you came up with another nickname 2 episodes in a row. You're on a roll, man.
yeah, I was gonna start making jokes. I was gonna call everybody like something like ET26.
You're better when you don't mean to.
That's
$1.5
I've been
million.
told that.
$1.5 million for Chicago to sign him. They flipped him to Aston Villa for $15 million, and now he got sold for $64 million plus add-ons that escalate up to $77
when
million.
did they flip him?
January 31st.
Of this year?
Huh?
Okay.
But he's making $2,000 an hour.
Is he more happy about that or about getting out of Chicago?
Carrie's car didn't make it.
We saw it.
R.I.P. Carrie's car.
Yeah, but the people we're talking to on this podcast didn't. That's who I was talking to. I wasn't telling you Carrie's car didn't make it. I was telling the people listening to the show. Did you forget we
Sorry.
were doing a show?
Next Sporting KC game, the Coachella Valley Invitational in a place that Thad thinks he's been to once. Wednesday, February 5th, NYCFC.
You think he'll play?
DJ 9?
Yeah.
Oh, I hope so.
He'll get a goal fed by Jake, Kyrie.
I know it's not going to actually happen, but just for the bit, choppy.
Kyrie, the center back.
Thad, say something prophetic.
It's Groundhog's Day.
Stupidest holiday ever.
And that wasn't prophetic.
The other side don't seem so tough, and 3 own goals ain't all that rough. Our skipper has just been sent off. team's got me drinking. Give me beer or whiskey, wine or gin, anything to shake this mood I'm